The strongest being alive pretends to be a weak student and joins a fighting tournament. Our story starts with Mori, a young, kinda useless orphan boy who was adopted by an old man. This grandpa raised him in the mountains, teaching him this super unique martial art called renewal taekwondo. But one day, his grandfather told Mori it was time to join a school in the city, study hard, and maybe make some friends. Mori was heartbroken, left in tears, but deep down, he knew the old man just wanted to go buy milk and never come back. Classic. We then see 3 dudes relaxing on a beach, getting massages from girls, something you'll probably never experience. One of them, a government worker named Park, is on the phone, asking about a bill they sent to the National Assembly. The guy on the other end offers him money, but these guys are way beyond that. They're plotting to ruin the country's prime minister's reputation. As they're chatting, something starts approaching the island. Suddenly, a crazy wind blows, and the clouds just swallow the sunny sky. The 3 men have no idea what to do when something falls from the sky and just flattens them. Meanwhile, in an office somewhere, a man makes a crushing motion with his hand. He tells his secretary they're running out of time and need to get started. And check this out, he has a red cross tattooed on his hand. Later, helicopters arrive at the island to investigate and find a massive hand-shaped crater with a cross on it, just like the tattoo on the man's hand. We now cut to Mori, who's a teenager. He wakes up from a dream about his grandpa leaving. He looks at a photo of them together, but then realizes he's running late for something super important today. He bolts out on his bicycle, totally frustrated for oversleeping on such a big day. Later, on the news, it's announced that today is the first day of a martial arts tournament known as the God of High School. Students from all over the country can join, and the city preliminaries are about to kick off at the arena. You could see all the kids were hyped for the tournament, trying to get tickets to watch. Then, we see this guy working in a convenience store. While taking out the trash, he checks his wallet and realizes he's broke. Man, he knows he needs to work more shifts just to get by. We then meet a girl who needs to get to the tournament, and she asks some martial artists for directions, guys who didn't even make the cut. While they're pointing the way, she gets totally distracted by their muscles. Meanwhile, Mori is on his way to the tournament, starving and thinking about what to get for lunch. Just then, he almost crashes into a thief on a motorcycle who just snatched an old lady's purse. In that split second, he sees the struggle in the old lady's eyes, and it just hits him. So what does he do? He flips a U-turn and starts chasing the thief. The chase is absolute chaos. Mori's on a bicycle and the thief is speeding away on a motorcycle. But Mori's got some serious skills. He's expertly weaving through traffic, practically flying on his bike. During the chase, he accidentally crashes into the girl who was still admiring those muscles. He quickly apologizes and gets right back to chasing the thief. But when the girl realizes her glasses are broken, she gets furious and hurls her sword at Mori. She yells that he's not getting away with this. Mori explains he's chasing the thief who stole the old lady's purse. Hearing this, the girl's heart melts, and she decides to help him. They both hop on the bike together, determined to catch this guy. The thief is trying his best to escape, but Mori and the girl are right on his tail. However, when the girl leaps to attack the thief with her sword, she accidentally smacks a street sign instead. At that exact moment, the boy from the convenience store happens to be passing by. He steps in and stops the thief with a single, powerful punch, leaving both Mori and the girl completely impressed. In the next scene, the tournament is about to start, and we find out all 3 of them are in the same dressing room, getting ready to fight. The girl, whose name is Yumira, demands Mori pay for her broken glasses, but Mori's like, "Hey, it was the thief's fault." He does thank them for saving his life, though. Mori introduces himself as Jin Mori, and the other boy says his name is Han Dai Wei. They all get acquainted. Then the announcer explains the tournament rules. He says any fighting style is allowed, there's no time limit, and you can use any weapon you want. The only ways to win are by knockout or forcing your opponent to surrender. These are just the regional preliminaries, and from here, they'll select the fighters for the main tournament. The announcer also talks about the bracelets they're all wearing, which monitor their vital signs. These things are there to check if a fighter is seriously hurt, and if so, nanomachines injected into them will heal their injuries instantly. The announcer then drops a bombshell. Whoever wins the whole tournament can make any wish to the organization. With all the fighters gathered, he declares that the fight has begun. At first, everyone, including the audience, is just shocked. But they quickly realize it's a battle royale. Some fighters figure out that the bracelets don't just track their health, but also show their fighting levels. So they start ganging up on the weaker participants, and we get to see all these different crazy abilities. However, it becomes super clear that Mori is on another level, as he effortlessly takes down several opponents. Similarly, Daewoo and Mira also show off their skills, defeating a ton of fighters. After a bit, a fighter named Kang Man-seok enters the ring, and the blue-haired woman running the show mentions he's the favorite to win the whole thing. Kang starts easily wiping the floor with several fighters, showing off his insane speed, even without using his arms. He's totally disappointed by how weak everyone is, and says he'd rather be back sleeping in his prison cell. Yumira steps up to challenge Kang, but her attacks don't seem to do much damage, though she's definitely a tough opponent. During the fight, Kang makes some really inappropriate comments about her looks and asks her out, to which Yumira responds with pure disgust. Then behind Kang, we see Mori pulling down his pants, revealing some wild animal print underwear. This completely catches Kang off guard, and he responds by delivering a massive kick to Mori's chest, sending him flying. Daewoo notices that when Kang kicked him, Mori used the opportunity to injure Kang's foot with his arm. Smart move. Mori then gets back up and tells Kang that if he's going all out, then so is he. They both leap to attack each other. Meanwhile, officials from the United States government are getting seriously concerned after seeing pictures of what happened on that island. A man with a scar on his forehead enters the room, and everyone immediately points their weapons at him. The officials demand to know who he is, and he introduces himself as Park Moo-jin, explaining that he works for the Korean government. The first round of the tournament finally ends. Yumi-ra walks ahead to go home, and Jin and Han follow since they're all heading in the same direction. Turns out, their houses are on the same route. Jin asks Yumi-ra why she hit him, which leads to a flashback of what happened during the fight between Jin and Kang. Yumi-ra remembers that when she jumped to attack Kang, she accidentally twisted Jin's neck. Whoops! She explains it wasn't on purpose. She got him confused because she wasn't wearing her glasses. But she mentions they were able to heal him using those nanomachines that were injected into all the fighters. These things can repair any damage from the fights, leaving Han super impressed by the organization's crazy advanced tech. Later, Jin reveals he's in the tournament because he wants to fight a ton of strong opponents and get even stronger. He then asks Han why he's competing, and Han just says it's for the money. Finally, Yumi-ra mentions she's fighting to reclaim her family's martial arts academy. Jin teases her, wondering how people could so easily snatch her sword from her, and she fires back that it's because she didn't have her glasses on. Just then, Jin pulls out her sword without her even noticing, and she asks for it back. But as she reaches for it, it slips from her grasp and falls right into the river. Jin apologizes and says he'll get it, but she slaps him and tells him to get out of her sight. It's nighttime, and Mira is searching the water for her sword. She hears her father's voice, reminding her to never let their moonlight sword style fade away. She has a flashback to her childhood when her father gave her the sword and told her to find a strong successor for the academy. As she grew up, while other girls were doing normal girly things, she only had time for training and fulfilling her father's wishes. Back in the present, her phone's flashlight suddenly dies, leaving her in the dark. But then, Jin Mori shows up with a flashlight to help her search. As they keep looking, she apologizes for slapping him. She explains that when he took the sword, she felt so sad because it was the only thing she had left of her father. Suddenly, Han appears with bright lights to help them find the sword. The next day, a new round of fights is about to begin, and whoever wins will get to participate in the National God of High School tournament. They introduce a fighter named Go Gam-do, who practices Tai Chi. The three of them are waiting in the locker room. Jin Mori is asleep when Kang approaches him and threatens to hurt him, even while he's sleeping. But Go steps in and tells Kang to leave him alone. Despite this, Kang kicks Go right in the face, but Jin Mori instantly wakes up and supports Go's back to protect him from the impact. Mori tells Go he needs to always stay alert. The first match is between Yumi-ra and some guy named Han Daichul, and with just one move, she knocks him out cold. After that, the fights kick off, and Jin Mori easily wins his match. Afterwards, they're watching the other fights on TV, and Han also demolishes his opponent. Seeing this, Jin Mori gets all excited, saying he wants to fight them. Suddenly, Go Gam-do appears to thank Jin Mori for stepping in when Kang attacked him earlier. He admits he shouldn't have let his guard down, but as he's saying this, the announcer calls the fighters for the next match. Jin Mori warns Go to be careful, since his opponent is Kang. Go tells Mori he's not afraid of Kang, but he is worried about losing the Battle of Wills. The announcer had declared that the fight wouldn't end until one of them was unconscious or surrendered. He also mentioned that if someone leaves the ring for more than 20 seconds, they're disqualified, and they can rely on nanomachines to heal their injuries. Go had told Kang to release his arms and fight like a real martial artist. The fight begins, and Go manages to land a bunch of punches on Kang, impressing Jin Mori and Yu with his technique. Then, he skillfully throws Kang into the audience, leaving everyone stunned. However, Kang slowly gets back into the ring, looking completely unfazed by Go's punches. Kang then frees one of his arms and starts repeatedly striking Go. It becomes clear that Kang's fighting style is no holds barred, eye gouges, low blows, anything goes, since it was created for survival in war. At this point, Go believes his Tai Chi style is about finding peace, not getting angry. He manages to land a powerful blow called the yin-yang balance strike on Kang, but Kang just blocks it like it's nothing. Kang then demands that Go surrender by making him apologize, and he starts slapping him to humiliate him. But Go refuses to give in. Kang continues to step on his face and then tries to literally tear Go's arms from his body. But just as he's doing that, Jin Mori intervenes and starts wailing on Kang because he can't stand his dirty fighting style. The tournament organizers surround Jin Mori and tell him he can't interfere in the fight like that. Kang gets back on his feet and claims that he's not the same person anymore. A black aura starts radiating from Kang and he removes his heavy pants. We get a quick glimpse into his past when he was weak and asked his mentor to teach him, but she just called him a failure. Returning to the present, Kang attacks Jin Mori with a powerful move. The organizers move to intervene, but Jin Mori jumps and kicks Kang over and over again. He kicks him so many times that Kang falls unconscious. Suddenly, Park Moo-jin, the man with the scar, appears and uses his power to slam Jin Mori to the ground. He gets on the microphone and announces that he's the head of tournament administration, and a severe punishment will be given to Jin Mori. But as they're taking him away, he hears the crowd cheering and shouting his name. After that, we see a group of people dressed in religious robes in some kind of cult-like setting. They're listening to the tournament on the radio, and one of them says they will fulfill a higher will, believing that by doing so, they'll have their wishes granted. Back at the arena, the organizers have gathered, and the woman with blue hair mentions that Go-Gam-Do is severely injured, which means he's out of the tournament. Then, we see Kang, who is totally terrified of what Jin Mori did to him. The woman comments that she doesn't think Kang will ever fight again. Next, we see Jin Mori working out in his room, while the organizers are debating whether to disqualify him. The man with the scar looks at Jin Mori's file and is shocked to see that his grandfather is Jin Taijin. After that, the fights resume. Yu faces off against a woman named Ma Mi-seon, who happens to be the United States wrestling champion. Ma suggests that Yu should pick a different weapon, since her wooden sword won't stand a chance. She starts the fight strong, attacking Yu with aggressive moves. Ma explains that she came all the way from America to win, since the winner gets any wish granted. Yu tries to fight back with her sword, but Ma's body seems as tough as iron, making her attacks useless. Yu's sword ends up flying away, and Ma taunts her, saying she has no chance of winning. This infuriates Yu, and she unleashes a power called the Moonlight Sword Style, which creates a huge gash on Ma's chest, even without her sword. Ma falls to the ground, and Yu is declared the winner. Meanwhile, Jin Mori is in his room celebrating Yu's victory. But then, Mujin enters and informs Jin Mori that they've decided on his punishment. He tells Jin Mori he can rejoin the tournament if he can defeat the man with green hair and glasses. But Jin Mori insists on fighting the blonde man instead, remembering some humiliating incident from school. He throws a full-on tantrum on the floor, screaming about how much he wants to fight the blonde guy. The man with glasses claims he's stronger than the blonde man and was chosen for that reason. To prove his point, he punches Jin Mori right in the face. Jin Mori excitedly gets up, realizing the guy is way stronger than he thought. The man with the scar then announces that the fight will happen the next day. Yu is walking with Han, still upset with Jin Mori for interfering in the fight. She's worried this will get him disqualified. But Han thought the whole thing was incredible, and believes Jin Mori's strength is on another level. Suddenly, Jin appears and tells them about his upcoming fight against the guy with green hair and glasses. He also offers them some fruits the scarred man gave him, saying they'll restore their energy. Yu is angry at him for being so reckless, but Jin tells them about their families, saying they encouraged them to do what they wanted. It's becoming pretty clear that the scarred man and the blue-haired woman are plotting something. Later, Jin Mori is at home, eating a peach and getting ready for bed. Suddenly he feels a sharp pain in his chest and collapses, coughing up blood. In another location, the man with the scar explains that he did this to test if Jin Mori was a true fighter and to see if he was as strong as his grandfather. Next, we find Han visiting a friend in the hospital who's suffering from a severe illness. It's revealed that Han is in the tournament to earn money to help his friend. His friend mentions that the doctors are going to try a new, expensive medicine, and his sister has taken on extra work to pay for it. She's so busy she barely has time to sleep, and he feels guilty for being a burden to both of them. Han tells him not to worry and to just focus on getting better. He tells his friend about a boy he met who reminds him of him, and they start joking around, having a good time. Later, we see Han working as a trash collector, where he runs into some bullies who taunt him, having heard about his friend's condition. One of them throws a can at him, dirtying his shirt, but Han just picks it up as the bullies continue to mock him. Back at the arena, Han was preparing to fight a boy who was always seen with a book. The boy claimed he learned everything from books, including how to win in battle. As the fight began, the boy could predict all of Han's moves because he had studied every pattern of karate. He said that if he practiced and learned all the movements, it would be impossible for him to lose. That's why he joined the tournament, to prove his theory was right. The boy attacked Han with a metal bat, but Han managed to dodge the blows. The boy tried to attack again but slipped and fell. Surprisingly, Han didn't take advantage of the situation. Instead, he offered the boy a hand to help him up. The boy was shocked that Han didn't exploit the moment and asked why. Han explained that it would be cowardly to attack an opponent who's down. The boy got up and used a power called 12 Spears, which involved delivering 12 simultaneous strikes, severely injuring Han. The boy told him that these blows had pierced his bones and reached his organs, making it pointless for Han to get up and keep fighting. However, Han remembered his friend's struggle in the hospital, who had expressed a powerful desire to survive his illness. We return to the present, and because of this, Han knew he couldn't afford to lose. So, despite his injuries, he got up and continued to fight. The boy launched an attack with 72 spears, but Han countered with a move called Black Tortoise. He followed it up with an attack called Vermilion Bird, creating a whirlwind that blinded the boy. Finally, he unleashed White Tiger, the third attack, landing multiple blows on the boy, who was left completely helpless. The boy couldn't believe that his perfect theory had been completely shattered. Unable to continue with his fourth stance, the boy collapsed and was eliminated from the tournament. Next, they announced the fight between the commissioner with green hair and Mori. However, Jin Mori was unconscious in his house. Suddenly, something inside his body woke him up. Later, as they waited for him to arrive, everyone thought he wouldn't show up, but then he came running and jumped into the ring, though he seemed a bit tired and didn't know why his body was burning so intensely. Upon seeing him, the green-haired commissioner taunted him, suggesting he was scared to face him. The announcer explained the rules. Since it was an uneven match, if Jin Mori knocked his opponent down just once, he would win. The fight began, and in the blink of an eye, Jin Mori swiftly took the commissioner's glasses off and knocked him down with minimal effort before the guy could even react. The announcer was stunned and shouted that the match was over, leaving the audience upset because it ended so fast. Suddenly, the guy became enraged and rushed to attack Jin Mori, but Mori dodged the attack and delivered a kick that sent him flying. The audience fell silent because it was clear that Jin Mori possessed unbelievable strength. Afterwards, a giant monster or something emerged from the guy's body and began to attack Jin Mori, who had to run around the ring to avoid its monstrous attacks. The power of this thing was far beyond anything anyone had seen before. The monster tried to impale Jin Mori with a sword, but something stopped it, and then the monster just disappeared. The other commissioners arrived to restrain the green-haired guy, who was furious about the humiliation he had suffered. When Mu Jin arrived, he punished the green-haired man by cutting his salary for 3 months because of his behavior. Then, he approached Jin Mori, who was resting, and congratulated him on his victory. Jin Mori replied that he was super hungry and wanted a banana. At that moment, there was no doubt in the man's mind that Jin Mori was indeed Jin Taejin's grandson, the so-called Tiger Cub. Next, a TV program discussed the God of High School tournament, with the hosts announcing that only 4 fighters remained from the preliminaries. These fighters were Mori, a practitioner of renewal taekwondo, Yu, the successor to the Moonlight Sword style, Han, a top full-contact karate practitioner, and another fighter named Byung Yeol, who specialized in a Brazilian fighting style. The next match was set to be between Yu and Han. After this, our group of friends is walking down the street, talking about who they think will make it to the final round. Suddenly, a car pulls up in front of them, and a young man gets out. He walks toward them, gets on one knee, and confesses his love for Yu, asking her to marry him. Upon hearing this, the 3 friends were completely surprised and embarrassed. In the next scene, Yu is with her younger cousin, and they're picking out a dress for the wedding. The little girl can't believe that Seong-jin has decided to marry Yu, revealing that this guy is a famous fighter who works on TV. Seong-jin expressed his desire to let Mira and her sword shine. Later, we get a flashback to Yu's childhood when her father died, and she was approached by her uncle. Her uncle told her she would now live with him and take care of her father's sword. He also tried to teach martial arts but was too weak, and his students all left the academy. Yu declared that she was the rightful owner of the sword and had to secure a bright future for it. Later, at the dojo, the uncle asked Seong-jin why he wanted to marry Yu. He replied that he had many plans involving her and the sword. He expressed his determination to fulfill a dream that neither he nor his brother could achieve. Later, Mori was trying to decide which burger to order when he overheard a conversation in line about his friend's upcoming marriage. He decided to go to her house to ask her why she was marrying Seong-jin. When she asked how he found her house, he revealed that he had asked the people who organized the tournament. Yu tried to close the door, but he held it open and questioned why she was getting married if she wasn't in love, especially during the semifinals. She explained that she had to do it for the sake of the sword and the moonlight style. Afterward, she slammed the door and Mori ended up falling down the stairs. However, she looked really sad, as if she didn't want to get married at all. Next, Mori called Han, who was working as a food delivery driver, and told him about Yu's marriage to some TV personality he didn't trust. Han advised him to stop meddling in things that weren't his business, but Mori insisted that something felt wrong because Mira didn't seem happy. In a scene change, Yu was dressed as a bride, and her uncle was remembering how she never liked the same things as other girls. She preferred staying home and cleaning, or when they walked on the street, she would just stare at other girls' clothes. He would ask if she wanted him to buy her some, but she always said she didn't need them. So now, it was strange that she was getting married, and even stranger that she was doing it with someone she didn't love. He went to where Seong-jin was and asked him to cancel his niece's wedding, stating that Yu didn't want to get married and that she was still just a kid. However, as he said this, Yu entered and claimed she was happy and wanted to fulfill her dream of getting married. It was obvious she had something else on her mind. She mentioned that Seong-jin's power would change the fate of the Moonlight Sword style. Her cousin became sad because Yu didn't usually talk like that. Later, we saw the cousin telling Jin Mori about her father and the sword. He wanted to talk to Yu and make her see reason, but security guards appeared and blocked him because he didn't have an invitation. He tried to get past them but was thrown to the ground. In a flashback, we saw Seong-jin's true intentions. We discovered he belonged to a religious cult where everyone wore robes. In this cult, the leader instructed the young man to get the sword along with the hand that wields it, referring to Yu, as she was the only one who could control it. The leader mentioned that whoever possessed this sword would be able to rule like a higher power. Mori was fighting the security guards, but he couldn't use his taekwondo on them because they were too weak. Suddenly, Han appeared and knocked the guards aside with his shoulder, defeating them all. He told Jin Mori he wasn't hitting them, just pushing them aside. Seong-jin looked at his guards, totally disappointed. Mori interrupted the wedding, but Seong-jin attacked him with a sword brought by a servant. However, Han intercepted the sword with his bare hand, giving Mori a chance to talk to Yu. He told her not to marry Seong-jin, but she insisted on fulfilling her father's wish, which was for her to find someone super strong to inherit the sword. She had rejected all the boys who wanted to date her because they were too weak. While she was explaining this, she was throwing punches at Mori, who was just defending himself. At this point, her uncle intervened, and she accidentally clocked him right in the face. After this, we saw that both her uncle and her cousin did not want her to get married. Mori told her that she should do what she truly desires, and upon hearing this, she had a flashback of her father saying the exact same words. It became clear she had totally misunderstood her father. He was telling her to use whatever technique she wanted to control the sword, not find some dude. Remembering this, she made her decision and told Seong-jin that she didn't want to marry him. She also declared that she would protect the moonlight sword style herself. However, Seong-jin refused and said he would get the sword and the girl by any means necessary. He then summoned a deity, similar to the one we saw emerge from the green-haired guy during his fight with Mori. As a result, the place started to collapse and Han shouted at everyone to run. Seong-jin then attacked Han with his sword and wounded Yu in the stomach when she jumped in between them. But she quickly struck him with a moonlight move, and he fell unconscious. Both Jin and Han were so happy to see her back to her old self. Afterwards, they were outside, watching the fire, and Yu felt guilty for everything that happened. Seong-jin escaped in a car with her father's sword, but she said she didn't care if he took it because her father's spirit wasn't in the sword, but inside her. Afterwards, she walked away laughing with her friends, and both her uncle and the little girl were so happy for her. Later, Han was in the hospital while doctors tried to revive his friend, but they couldn't do anything. He had no pulse. After that, Han was at work, and the usual bullies came to taunt him. This time, he didn't let them make fun of his friend and just beat all three of them down. Then, we saw the semi-final of the tournament between Han and Yu. At this moment, Han was filled with rage over his friend's death, and the audience was shocked to see him brutally beating Yu. He wanted to keep hitting her even though she was severely injured and unconscious, so the announcer had to step in to stop him from actually ending her. After the fight, he passed by Mori and told him they would meet in the final. Mori thought that Han seemed like a completely different person, not his friend at all. 2 years ago, Han had a memory from before his friend got sick, showing they used to just enjoy fighting every day after school. Then, we returned to the present, and he was in the bathroom, throwing up while thinking about his friend and the injuries he gave Yu. Following this, the other semi-final fight began between Mori and Byung-yeol, who used his Brazilian fighting style. However, the fight ended in a flash as Mori defeated him with a single attack that knocked him out. Jin displayed just immense strength. The announcer then declared that the final would be between Mori and Han, and the winner would go to the national tournament. Later, Mori visited Yu in the hospital where she was being treated with that nanomachine tech. She noticed he was distracted and told him he wouldn't be able to win against Han like that. She said she lost because she was weak, but Mori argued it was because she was already injured from the wedding fight. Still, she expressed her concern about why Han acted the way he did. Later, Han visited his friend in the hospital, who was still alive but in a coma. The next day, the final day of the preliminaries arrived. The fighters were called to the ring, and the match began. Mu-jin wondered if the tiger cub would finally awaken, referring to Jin. The fight was super evenly matched as they both exchanged blows, neither one getting the upper hand. Han landed a blow to Mori's mouth, causing him to spit out a lot of blood. Seeing Yu get hit like that, Mori got up in a rage and told Han he wouldn't forgive him for hurting their friend. He launched several kicks from his renewal taekwondo, and Han fell into the corner, but Mori approached and extended his hand to help him up. Han took his hand but told him that neither he nor Yu were his friends. He then began using all sorts of techniques to attack Mori. We then saw Yu leaving the hospital with her uncle and cousin. She walked past Han's friend's room and realized he was being treated with nanotechnology. Several people were gathered there, including the tournament organizers and a girl who was mourning her brother's death. The sister screamed at the guy in the bed, urging him to get up and fight his friend Han again, which was what he loved the most. Later, a flashback showed the scarred man telling Han that he knew he wanted to win the tournament to help his friend. He offered a deal. If Han won the semi-final and final in a completely dominant way, he would cure his friend's illness using nanomachines. This was the reason Han fought with all his strength against Yu and was doing the same against Mori now. Returning to the present, Han was beating Mori mercilessly with his god stance, and he fell to the ground. The announcer started counting to 10 to see if Mori could get up, but before the count finished, the scarred man appeared and told Han that his friend had already died. At that moment, Mori got up before the count reached 0. Later, we dive into Han's school days, where he had a reputation for winning all his fights, even against older students. In one instance, he found himself outnumbered by students armed with sticks, but an unexpected ally, the friend who would later mean so much to him, appeared to help him in the battle. After their victory, both exhausted and lying on the ground, the friend asked Han why his so-called friends hadn't come to help. Han responded with a bitter truth: the people he hung out with weren't really his friends. The friend offered some valuable advice, urging Han to trust people more. Returning to the present, Han woke up, grappling with the devastating news of his friend's passing. Mori initiated a brutal attack, but Han defended himself ruthlessly. At this point, we learn about the scarred man's previous conversation with Han. He revealed that the nanomachine treatment had started, but sadly, it was too late. As a result, their contract was over, leaving Han free to fight however he wanted. In the heat of battle, Han reflected on how foolish it was to say Mori and the others weren't his friends. He also remembered his departed friend's words, the advice to trust people more echoing in his mind. Despite Mori's relentless assault, Han chose not to resist. In the midst of the intense battle, Yu pleaded with Han to fight like he did when he faced her and handed him a letter left by his late friend. Yu warned Han not to show its contents to Mori, fearing it might affect their fight. Upon receiving the letter, Han remembered his friend writing it before he passed. The letter conveyed his happiness and encouraged Han to fight for himself. Filled with a new determination, they engaged in a fierce battle, both content as they gave it their all. Mori unleashed a powerful blue dragon kick, causing Han to tumble to the ground. The announcer declared Jin Mori the tournament's winner. Han had another memory, this time of a fight he had won against his friend, who was overjoyed and suggested they share a smile. Han, however, said that smiling wouldn't bring them any victories, to which his friend insisted that they would become best friends. Back in the present, as Mori extended his hand, Han realized that Mori's smile was just like his departed friends. They shook hands, and Mori declared them friends. Yu helped Han to his feet, declaring her intent to defeat him in their next match. Together, they walked away, and the audience erupted in applause, celebrating their newfound friendship. Meanwhile, Jin Mori's grandfather, Jin Tae-jin, finds himself deep in the forest when a group of men in robes from that religious cult suddenly appears. One of them approaches the old man, suggesting that strong individuals should unite and join their cause, claiming they've been given power from a higher source. However, the old man flat out refuses, saying he has the right to live life on his own terms, a sentiment he often shares with his grandson. In response to this refusal, the man's expression changes, hinting that he might have used some kind of power or manipulation on the old man. Mori lies on his bed, wondering where his long-lost grandfather is, whom he hasn't seen since he was a kid. Meanwhile, on television, the presenters make an announcement about the upcoming national tournament, which will be held in teams starting in 2 weeks. To participate in this tournament, the top 3 fighters from each regional preliminary have to form teams. In order to determine the 3rd and 4th place fighters, Yu competes against the guy skilled in Brazilian style and easily secures the 3rd place spot. Mori enthusiastically cheers for her from the audience, but both Yu and Han look a little embarrassed. The tournament administrators are reviewing detailed analyses of the teams when a sudden rule change is made. This change is because they realize that anyone on the teams could be the key, as they all possess key-like qualities. They understand that the key is awakened when the person's strongest emotion triggers their hidden power. Additionally, the administration is concerned about the cult's increasing boldness after the preliminaries, as they are chasing the same objectives. Mori expresses his happiness that Yu won, ensuring that all 3 of them can participate in the big tournament as a team. They walk down the street together, and Mori is excited about going to the tournament with his friends. However, a sudden realization hits him. In a team competition, he won't be able to fight his friends. Yu questions why he would want to fight them, and Mori responds that being the strongest is just incredibly cool. During this conversation, Mori senses someone passing by, but the person disappears quickly, leaving him intrigued. Later, we see an elderly man who has been sent by the scarred man to spy on Mori. It becomes clear that this old man is a master, and they summon these masters using cards. There are 6 of them in total. The elderly man used to be Mujin's teacher, and he believes that Jin Mori must be strong because he survived after eating the sage fruit. So, the old man intends to mentor him. Continuing the storyline, we are shown what happened to Mori's grandfather. The men in robes summon a being from the sky, creating a portal through which a giant sword descends, pointing towards the old man and causing massive destruction in its wake. This catastrophic event makes them believe that the end of the world is near. Yu is deeply contemplating her role in the team, feeling like she's just an extra. Later, she runs into the fight announcer while he's with his family at a store. She notices that he is blind, and he congratulates her on her victory. He then tells her that the real tournament is about to begin, and that she needs to tap into the full power of the Moonlight Sword style. He emphasizes that she must invest her emotions into the sword, otherwise her strength will be for nothing. Shockingly, he reveals that he lost his sight because of the Moonlight Sword. As the announcer heads back to his car, he detects a foul odor, which turns out to be coming from a member of Nox. Afterward, Han has a conversation with Mujin, who questions whether Han still wants to participate in the tournament after his friend's death, implying he doesn't have to continue. Han responds by stating his commitment to repaying a significant debt and his determination to win the tournament, as it's what his late friend would have wanted. He also expresses his curiosity about the hidden power behind the tournament, alluding to the being that emerged from the green-haired man during Mori's fight. This revelation captures the scarred man's attention as he gazes at images of these beings on the wall. Mori is dedicated to his training in an effort to gain more muscle and surprise Yu and Han. However, his training regimen includes activities that are not very effective, like chasing after a cat. In another instance, he helps some kids retrieve a balloon stuck in a tree. Unfortunately, the branch breaks, causing him to fall and twist his ankle. Unbeknownst to Mori, the elderly man from earlier appears behind him and inserts a needle into his ankle, miraculously relieving his pain. Following this, the scarred man explains the concept of these gods and how individuals can borrow power from them, effectively using it in combat as if they were gods themselves. This is beyond human understanding, and those who harness this power are known as Charyak. Later, Yu and Han pay a visit to Mori's house. When Mori questions how they found his home, Yu playfully responds with the same answer he gave when he visited her. Upon entering Mori's place, they are met with a completely messy and untidy environment. Mori explains that he used to live with his grandfather in the mountains, but moved here to attend school. The three friends exchange the knowledge they've acquired, discussing topics like Chariok and Mori's healing abilities as he successfully relieves Yu's sore shoulder. They recognize the need to stay vigilant, as many of the fighters in the tournament are now wielding the power of these beings. The highly anticipated national tournament, featuring the country's best teams, is about to begin. In total, there are 3 fighters representing each of the 9 regions, making for a total of 27 competitors. The stakes are high, as the tournament promises the winners the incredible power of a god, which has the potential to grant any wish. Yu keenly observes that the announcer for the tournament is different from the one they met before. However, a disturbing revelation soon unfolds as it's broadcast on television that the previous announcer was brutally murdered in a park. The shocking news sends shockwaves through the audience and participants alike. We then catch a glimpse of the individual responsible for this heinous crime, who appears to be reveling in the chaos and violence he has caused. He expresses a sinister satisfaction at having also eliminated the green-haired commissioner with glasses, one of the tournament's strongest contenders. The announcer explains that there will be 3 fights, and the team that wins 2 of them will move on. Mori steps up to fight first, and Yu cautions him to be careful because the opposing team is formidable. However, he isn't scared, and shares that he has acquired a new skill. During the battle, he touches different points on his body, explaining that it will unleash his hidden power. In the audience, the elderly man takes pride in teaching him this new ability, which is part of Taeguk's Taekwondo. Unfortunately, Mori couldn't move because he touched the wrong spots on his body, allowing his opponent to capitalize on the situation, delivering powerful kicks and securing victory in the first match. In the second match, Han faces the largest member of the opposing team. The announcer points out that this fighter is the oldest in the tournament, at 38 years old, surprising the audience as he doesn't look like a high school student. In another scene, the person responsible for killing the announcer and the green-haired commissioner gloats about how easy it was. However, it's revealed that the green-haired man, named Q, miraculously survived despite having a sword through his lung. He summons a god, which swiftly severs the assassin's arm. Back at the tournament, Han is locked in a fierce battle against his older opponent. Han manages to land multiple powerful punches on Pum, causing worry for Pum's brother. However, Yang, Pum's sister, reassures him not to fret, as Pum never gives up. This triggers a flashback to Pum Kwang's time working in construction, where fellow workers ridiculed him for his repeated failures to pass the high school entrance exam. His brother delivers a bag of books for him to study with, and they discuss Pum's determination. Meanwhile, Jang watches from a distance and declares her determination not to become a loser like them. After losing a fencing competition, she vents her frustration by throwing her sword against a wall. Pum Kwang approaches her and asks about her well-being. She already knows his name. People often gossip and speak ill of him. Curious, she questions why he keeps trying when everyone mocks him for being a poor student and older. Pum Kwang reveals that he refuses to give up, sharing that he tried various things after leaving school, but ultimately gave up on all of them. He advises Jang not to give up if she truly wants to achieve something. Then, he leaves, running to work in the rain. The scene shifts back to the present, where Han is in the ring, but his opponent delivers a powerful blow that sends him to a corner. Pum Kwang expresses his strong desire to win the tournament because his dream is to help people who want to study, but are struggling. He summons Thor's hammer with Chariok and attacks Han, who manages to stop the attack and destroy the hammer using the power of the blue dragon. Pum Kwang falls to the ground, and Han is declared the winner. In another scene, the battle between Q and the assassin who tried to kill him intensifies. Q swiftly severs the assassin's other arm, but the killer boasts that he can regenerate indefinitely. Unfazed, Q launches several cards that pierce the assassin's body, immobilizing him. As Q prepares to deliver a fatal blow, a boy and a girl arrive on the scene, both of whom are priests from the cult. The boy introduces himself as Xiaolong, and the girl is Saturn. They wield strange powers and attack Q. However, the white-haired organizer, aware that Q had removed his limiter, arrives to assist him. She had sensed something was wrong and came to investigate. Back at the tournament, the final match between Yu and Zhang is about to begin, and the victor will determine which team advances. Initially, both girls wield sticks in their fight, but Zhang quickly realizes that Yu has the advantage. Pum Kwang fervently cheers for Zhang, urging her to fight with unwavering determination and not give up. Zhang conjures a power resembling a yellow light sword and attempts to strike Yu, but Yu skillfully evades the attack. Recalling the announcer's words in the park, Yu unleashes the full power of the moonlight sword style, delivering a powerful kick that shatters Zhang's sword and secures her victory. Returning to the confrontation between Q and the white-haired girl, they emerge victorious against the cult priests. However, before they can execute them, Xiaolong grabs Saturn, and the two of them manage to escape. Meanwhile, the other assassin's head begins to swell uncontrollably, eventually causing an explosion that engulfs the entire apartment and cuts off power throughout the building. Miraculously, they survive the explosion. Later, Mori and Yu celebrate their victory, while Han reflects on the moment when he struck Yu so forcefully during their fight, vowing never to repeat it. Zhang regains consciousness, and Pum Kwang expresses his concern for her. He reassures her that it's not the end, and they'll have another chance to compete next year. The next match begins with a green-haired boy named John Jugok, who creates a power using musical notes and fire. However, his opponent, Jaegal Taik, summons a colossal shark that mercilessly attacks Jugok, causing him to lose a significant amount of blood. In response, a girl from Jugok's team tries to intervene to help him, but Jaegal Taik repeatedly kicks her while she's defenseless on the ground, shocking both the audience and the participants. Yu wants to prevent Mori from intervening, fearing disqualification, but this time, Han steps in to confront Jaegal Taik. The announcer positions himself between them, and the injured boy, determined to win for his family's corporation, rises to his feet. He conjures and fires lightning, but Jaegal Taik effortlessly counters it and summons the shark once more, which devours the boy. In the emergency room, doctors are attending to the injured boy while Park, the scarred man, contemplates the situation. An elderly man suggests that Jaegal should be disqualified because it's clear he intended to cause chaos. However, Park responds by hinting that Jaegal might be the key they've been searching for. Meanwhile, Jin Mori, Yu, and Han are in the audience, watching the fights. Han and Yu discuss the upcoming opponents, and Han remembers that he has been suspended from participating due to his previous intervention. Jin Mori, on the other hand, is impressed by a fighter named Park Il-pyo, who effortlessly wins his match with a powerful kick. Park Il-pyo's hoodie, adorned with a tiger emblem, reminds Mori of his grandfather's military uniform. As they stroll down the street, Han mentions the importance of getting stronger and mastering Charyuk, the ability to summon the power of a god. In a flashback, Park Mujin explains that some fighters spend years honing their skills to obtain Charyuk, but success is far from guaranteed. Others are inspired and acquire this power more easily. However, Jin Mori expresses his desire to win based on his own strength and refuses to rely on the power of gods. This decision leaves Yu concerned because Mori seems different, appearing sad and quieter than usual. Jin Mori's memory takes him back to a conversation with Park and the girl with blue hair, where they informed him that his grandfather had recently suffered an attack in the mountains, and they discovered a significant amount of his blood at the scene. While Park Mujin was concerned about the slim chances of survival, Jin remained confident in his grandfather's abilities. Back in the present, Jin Mori is lost in thought and expresses his disbelief that his grandfather was killed. At that moment, Park Il-pyo approaches him with excitement, eager to meet him. They exchange friendly punches, both ending up in a deadlock, and neither of them takes it further. Il-pyo apologizes for his enthusiasm and offers a hand to help Jin up. During their conversation, Park Il-pyo reveals that he has been following Jin Mori's progress since the preliminary rounds. Jin Mori, curious about the tiger symbol on Il-pyo's hoodie, asks about it, and Park explains that he wears it as a sign of respect for Jin Tae-jin, Mori's grandfather. Park Il-pyo shares his childhood story with Jin Mori, revealing that his mother abandoned him after his father's funeral. He was then placed in a martial arts academy where he felt lonely and isolated. One day, Jin Tae-jin appeared with a young Jin Mori sleeping on his chest. Jin Tae-jin approached Park Il-pyo, explaining that he had fought alongside Il-pyo's grandfather in a war. He gave Il-pyo a book of martial arts techniques called Taguk, which his grandfather had studied his whole life. Jin Tae-jin encouraged Il-pyo to grow up quickly and become a great fighter. As he left, Il-pyo noticed the tiger symbol on Jin Tae-jin's uniform, which left a lasting impression on him. During their conversation, Il-pyo intercepts an attack that was aimed at Jin Mori, using his skills to stop the shark's teeth launched by Jaegal. Il-pyo then confronts Jaegal, warning him not to harm innocent people. A flashback reveals Il-pyo delivering a powerful blow to Jaegal, leaving a strong impression on him. Afterward, Jaegal departs, and Il-pyo cautions Jin Mori about the danger that Jaegal poses. Jin Mori is surprised and grateful for Il-pyo's assistance, realizing that he wouldn't have been able to stop the attack without him. The scene shifts to Jin Mori training as he strives to become even stronger. Q barges into Park's office with anger, questioning why Park allowed the family of the deceased announcer to be murdered. In response, Park just smacks Q and reminds him that he needs to pay for the apartment damage from their little scuffle. He also tells Q that 9 months of his salary will be docked as a consequence. Later, on a rooftop, the blue-haired girl explains to Q that she created a fake body to trick their enemies while the real wife and daughter were moved to a safe location. Smart. Meanwhile, Q fishes a coin from under a soda machine, and Han, who works there, sees him. Han approaches Q and makes him an offer. He wants Q to teach him how to use Charyuk, and in return, Han promises to cook lunch for him every day, so Q can save some cash. Han's motivation? He wants to get stronger than Jin Mori and finally beat him. He can tell Mori is going through something, and Han wants to be a reliable friend. Park meets with the tournament organizers and reveals that a dangerous religious cult called Nox is targeting them. He urges them to eliminate any member of this organization on sight. Meanwhile, the members of the Nox cult gather, and their leader declares war on the organizers of the God of High School tournament. In another scene, Jin Mori is thinking about his 17th birthday, and how long it's been since he saw his grandpa, Jin Tae-jin. He remembers his grandpa left him to face some dangerous people when he was just a kid. Then, Yu and Han surprise him with birthday wishes, bringing food and spending the evening just playing and having fun together. They make a pact to win the tournament, even though Han can't participate because he's suspended. The next day, Jin Mori gets a letter with a map and a photo of his grandfather, who's tied up in chains, looking like he's in serious trouble. Jin Mori bolts out on his bicycle, determined to save his grandpa. He mentally apologizes to Yu and Han, promising to be back in time for the tournament. Meanwhile, the quarterfinals have begun, featuring a match between Seoul and Jeju, two teams that were seeded in at the last minute. Yu and Han are searching for Jin Mori but can't find him anywhere. The blue-haired woman suddenly appears and tells them the fight is about to start, urging them to get back to the stadium. She warns that if Mori doesn't show up for his turn, he'll be disqualified and their whole team will be eliminated. Later, Yu is standing alone in the ring since Han was disqualified earlier. She resolves to buy as much time as possible for Mori to return. Just as she's preparing to face the other team, they arrive wearing black robes, looking super suspicious, like they might be with that Nox organization. The fighter set to battle Yu takes off his robe, revealing this super muscular body and a wooden sword that belonged to Yu's father, which just adds a whole new layer of tension to this fight. In the middle of the battle, Yu's wooden sword shatters, and her opponent reveals a national treasure known as Fengxian, harnessing its immense power. This completely shocks Yu, as she had no idea this legendary sword was hidden inside her weapon. Her muscular opponent taunts her, pointing out that after all her years of training, she never even realized the true nature of her own sword. As the intense battle continues, Yu manages to disarm him for a second, but when she tries to wield the sword, she recognizes it as her own, but it promptly vanishes from her grip and reappears in her adversary's hand. He explains that the sword recognizes its true owner, and now it acknowledges him. Meanwhile, Jin Mori arrives at some abandoned location looking for his grandfather, only to find a seriously disturbing scene. He finds a person impersonating his grandpa, and when this imposter's head grotesquely twists backward and then inflates, it results in a massive explosion, wiping out everything around them. A mysterious man appears and tells Mori his goal is to eliminate the strongest competitors in the tournament to get to the key. Jin Mori, totally unfazed, prepares for a fierce battle as the man multiplies into a ton of identical clones. At the same time, Yu is still getting a brutal beatdown from her powerful opponent, who's mocking her for being weak. Han's search for Mori leads him to a room where he finds Pum lying on the ground. As he enters, a woman appears, and Han briefly engages her in combat, but he decides he doesn't have time to waste on this. In the middle of this, Jagal enters the room and is seen scolding the woman for her actions. Then, we cut back to Mori's fight, and he's struggling to beat the clones because there are just so many of them. They all launch themselves at him, breaking through the floor. As they fall, Mori realizes that the lifeless bodies of the Jeju team members, the ones Yu is supposed to be fighting, are there. The man explains that they took out the real Jeju team and assumed their identities to guarantee a win against Mori's team. Mori presses certain points on his body, numbing himself for the next hour. Meanwhile, the muscular opponent continues to overpower Yu, and she has no strength left to defend herself. He taunts her, suggesting Mori isn't coming back. Yu starts to fight back when she learns her friends have been harmed, but her attacks are too weak to do any damage. The muscular opponent delivers a powerful blow, causing Yu to fall unconscious. But just then, she finds herself suspended in the air and begins to sink into her subconscious. She hears the voice of a war god and recalls all the great memories she shared with her friends. The war god decides to grant her its powers. Yu rises, and we witness her ability to summon the god named Lu Bu. As a result, her sword returns to her hand. The muscular man also harnesses his own Chariot, Kraken, but Yu easily defeats him. The announcer declares Yu the winner, but she feels extremely tired and collapses. Just before she hits the ground, Jin Mori arrives and catches her. Yu is so relieved to see him. The announcer then calls the start of the second match. While they're tending to Yu's injuries, Han expresses how happy he is that she managed to get Chariot, but they can't help but notice that Jin Mori is unusually angry, like nothing they've ever seen from him before. The fight begins, and Mori's opponent asks how he managed to escape from the clones. Mori stays silent and launches a powerful attack using blue dragons. This power isn't from a god, it was created by Mori himself. As we watch Mori strike his opponent, it simultaneously shows us how he defeated the clone man earlier. In a later scene, we dive into Ilpyo's memories, where Jagal inflicts a severe injury on his best friend, Seung-ah, by breaking her leg. At the hospital, they tell Ilpyo that while she'll be able to walk again, she'll never be able to practice martial arts. Ilpyo seeks out Jagal and gives him a thorough beatdown on the ground, demanding he apologize to his injured friend. However, the police arrive and arrest Ilpyo. After this incident, as he's leaving the police station, a man outside hands him a letter. Turns out, this letter is an invitation to the God of High School tournament. After thinking it over, he and the other girl decide to join, hoping the prize money can help their friend. Park explains to Jin Mori, Han, and Yu what happened with the fake Jeju team. He reveals these individuals posed as others to try and eliminate them, but their efforts failed. The group will still compete in the semifinals. Han asks about the motive behind the attack and who might be behind it. The scarred man discloses that it was orchestrated by the Nox organization. Meanwhile, we revisit the man with the clones who was defeated by Mori and is now severely injured. Jagal arrives and says he isn't a member of the organization, but works with them to gather information. As he leaves, he summons the giant shark, killing the injured man, and declares his intention to claim the key. The tournament presses on, and Mori's team squares off against Ilpyo's team. Yu and Han continue to notice Mori's unusual behavior, noting he's quieter than usual. Subsequently, the fight between Han and the girl named Seung-ah begins. Seung-ah launches a fierce assault on Han, but he recalls the information Park shared with them earlier. Park had explained that Nox's goal is to stop others from harnessing Charyok's power, and those who master it must join their organization. This is why they abducted Mori's grandfather, who possesses immense power. The group expresses their determination to confront Nox, but Park reminds them they're still too weak. However, he promises to give them info on Nox if they win the tournament. In the middle of the fight, Han lands a powerful strike on the girl, sending her tumbling to a corner. Ilpio advises her not to continue, as the odds are stacked against her, but she refuses to give up, emphasizing that she won't suffer the same fate as Seung-jin. She's determined to honor her friend's memory by fighting until her last breath. With this determination, she launches another attack at Han, but his strength is just too much, and he emerges victorious. Han approaches Jin Mori, who's been acting differently, and reassures him that they, as a team, will win the tournament together. Following this, Yu embraces them, stressing the importance of their unity. Jin Mori, moved by his friend's words, realizes he's been acting wrong and reverts to his playful, goofy self. Meanwhile, Ilpio watches their interaction with a hint of sadness as they tend to his defeated friend. Seung-jin arrives and acknowledges that Seung-ah had mentioned their participation. She expresses gratitude to Ilpio for his concern about her leg. However, she encourages him to fight not for her, but for his own desires, especially his wish to confront Jin Mori. Fueled by her words, Ilpio prepares to return to the ring, claiming he now feels ready. In a different scene, we witness the leader of Nox, Sang, unleashing his deadly powers, disintegrating several individuals. His actions are interrupted by Park, who has seemingly reappeared after a long absence. Sang acknowledges that it's been a while since Park showed up, and then reveals he knows about Park's plan to organize the tournament to find the dormant key. After this revelation, Sang performs a powerful spell that creates a symbol in the sky, emitting a piercing light that shoots into the heavens, creating a portal. Through this portal descends a colossal sword, the very same one that appeared to Mori's grandfather. Subsequently, we return to the tournament, where the highly anticipated battle between Jin Mori and Ilpio is about to begin. As the fight starts, Ilpio bluntly tells Mori that his current taekwondo skills won't be enough to beat him. Ilpio then points out 3 crucial mistakes Mori is making. He can't handle close combat. He announces his attacks out loud, and his techniques put too much strain on his own body. Ilpio starts landing blows on Mori, who seems helpless. Ilpio taunts him, suggesting his grandfather would be super disappointed in his current weakness. At this pivotal moment, Mori thinks about how to turn the tide and abruptly uses Yu's Moonlight Sword style, surprising both Yu and Ilpio. This technique actually works and damages Ilpio. Mori follows up with Han's Black Tortoise technique, showing he's actively fixing the weaknesses Ilpio pointed out. Turning our attention back to the portal, a shadowy godlike figure emerges and exerts force on the giant sword. Sang had hoped this being would pass judgment on the tournament's organizers. However, Park intervenes by summoning a cross-shaped shield, preventing the sword from wrecking the city. After that, a man in a hat, with a group of drummers, conducts a series of invocations, opening another portal. From this one, hands emerge and grab hold of the sword. It becomes clear that their leader has summoned one of the 6 powerful beings. Meanwhile, on the city streets, the organizers are fighting Nox's followers. Park is struggling to maintain the cross-shaped shield, which is still forming a protective barrier. At this critical moment, a creature emerges from the second portal, clamps its jaws onto the sword, and shatters it. The organizers erupt in celebration, cheering their hard-fought victory. Following these events, we return to the intense battle between Jin Mori and Ilpio, where both fighters are pushing themselves to the absolute limit, unleashing their full power. It becomes obvious that Ilpio has been guiding Mori throughout the fight, leading to an impressive display of skill. In a moment of reflection, we glimpse a memory from the past when Jin Taijin and a young Mori visited Ilpio at the martial arts academy. During their visit, the old man asked Ilpio if he would be willing to teach his grandson some valuable lessons if they ever crossed paths. Remarkably, Ilpio fulfills this promise by passing his knowledge to Jin Mori. As the battle reaches its climax, Ilpio slowly falls to the ground, defeated but content. He takes comfort in knowing he fulfilled his commitment to Jin Taijin by helping his grandson become incredibly strong. However, as he lies on the ground, he enters a strange, dreamlike state where he encounters a white-tailed fox. In this moment, Ilpio fervently declares that he cannot afford to lose. To the astonishment of everyone watching, he rises to his feet, undergoing a dramatic transformation. His hair turns white, his eyes glow yellow, and he manifests 9 fiery tails. This incredible transformation leaves everyone, including Park and Sang, in complete awe, as the power radiating from Ilpio surpasses anything they have ever seen. Upon witnessing this, Sang smiles and proclaims that the key has finally revealed itself. Back in the fight, everyone, including Jin Mori, is stunned by Ilpio's transformation. Jigal's Charyok resonance had led him to believe that Ilpio might be the key. Ilpio confidently announces that the real battle is about to begin. Jin Mori tries to strike Ilpio, but his blows are useless against an invisible barrier shielding him. In response, Ilpio launches a series of devastating counterattacks, throwing Mori to the ground. Unsure of how to beat this formidable opponent, Yu and Han watch in amazement, impressed by Mori's unwavering determination. Ilpio motions towards his head, and Mori notices his obvious distress. In a series of defensive moves, Mori realizes that Chariok isn't just about harnessing power, but also mastering one's own mind and body. With this realization, they find themselves on equal ground. Ilpio releases a fiery fox attack at Mori, but as the fiery beasts approach him, they just disintegrate into nothing. The sky grows dark, and a brilliant light radiates from Jin Mori, extending towards the heavens. He begins emitting powerful rays of energy from his body, leaving Ilpio completely astonished by this sudden surge of power. Following his incredible transformation, Ilpio launches a formidable attack known as the Night Parade of 100 Demons. However, Jin Mori responds by creating a powerful whirlwind that propels Ilpio high into the clouds. From above, a colossal hand descends, forcefully slamming Ilpio back into the ring and ending his transformation. The announcer officially declares Jin Mori the victor, and the audience erupts in celebration of the epic battle. Yu and Han excitedly jump into the ring to embrace Mori. Han asks if Mori had used his Chariok, but Mori himself is unsure about the extraordinary events that just happened. Sang, on the other hand, is taken aback by the outcome and cautiously makes his departure. Meanwhile, Mujin instructs the team to secure the key while he seeks immediate medical attention for his injuries. After some light-hearted banter, Jin Mori visits Ilpio in the hospital room. They continue their friendly dispute over who's the stronger fighter. However, once they're alone, Mori confides in Ilpio, revealing that he currently has no idea where his grandfather is. He expresses his determination to win the tournament, as the scarred man has promised to provide information about his grandfather if he emerges victorious. Concerned for Jin Mori's safety, Ilpio offers a word of caution, emphasizing the danger of facing Jagal in the finals. Despite the challenge, Ilpio pats Mori's head affectionately, evoking memories of their shared childhood and the bond they've developed. Following his injuries from Jagal's previous attack, Jeon Jugok is determined to continue fighting for his family's corporation. As he walks through a hospital corridor, he unexpectedly runs into Jagal. The two engage in a fierce battle, with Jugok undergoing a monstrous transformation that allows him to absorb people. In his rampage, he captures Ilpio's friends, trapping them in his body. Ilpio, despite still recovering, tries to confront Jugok but is severely weakened. Jagal intervenes by using his shark teeth to pierce Jugok's monstrous form, successfully rescuing the girl who had been absorbed. However, Jugok releases his body tissue, capturing Ilpio's friends in the process. Although the girl trapped inside Jugok tries to reason with him, his frenzy continues, leading to a gruesome encounter where Jagal summons his shark, resulting in the girl's demise and severe injuries to the boy. Witnessing the suffering of his friends, Ilpio is consumed by anger. He grabs Jagal and their battle escalates, ultimately leading to both of them falling from the top of a building. In a separate scene, Sang, the leader of Nox, makes a declaration while walking down the street. He announces that he has finally identified the key and releases flying monsters into the area. In response to this escalating threat, Park decides to bring an end to the God of High School tournament. Amidst the chaos, a colossal godlike figure descends through the portal, its shadowy presence casting a sense of awe and dread over Jin Mori, Yu, and Han. Sang, the leader of Nox, seems to be enjoying these events, declaring it as both the beginning and the end of something significant. Shifting scenes, we see the grandfather of Jugok, who is determined to avenge his grandson's tragic death, even if it means sacrificing his own life. The narrative then dives into Jagal's backstory. It's revealed that he was forcibly separated from his mother and subjected to intense training with the expectation of becoming a winner and inheriting the family fortune. Despite taking devastating blows from Ilpio, Jagal staunchly refuses to be the loser his father had always called his mother. Back in the present, Jagal and Ilpio are locked in a ferocious battle, both unleashing their Chariok powers to the fullest. Ilpio's anger has consumed him, blinding him to reason, while Jagal recognizes this transformation, comparing him to an untamed animal. Meanwhile, the tournament organizers are fighting the flying monsters that have emerged from the portal. Q is elated, as he stands to earn a ton of money for each monster he eliminates, which he plans to use to pay off his debt. Park intervenes, creating a protective shield in the sky to prevent the descending god from wrecking the city. Sang reveals his sinister goal, to obliterate every fragment of the world itself. Ilpio persists in his assault against Jagal, but Jagal retaliates by summoning a monstrous entity that bites into Ilpio, causing him to revert to his original state. The key, which had been inside Ilpio, hovers in the air, becoming the center of a fierce struggle as numerous people try to grab it. Ultimately, Sang manages to get a hold of the key, only to have it swiftly kicked away by Jin Mori, who is completely confused as to why everyone is fighting over it. Meanwhile, Park continues to maintain the protective shield, resisting the destructive force of the descending god. In response to the crisis, the United States government launches nuclear missiles and withdraws its alliance with Mujin, claiming their advanced tech makes the old gods powerless. Given this dire situation, someone alerts Park, who casts a spell to teleport the tournament participants to a remote location in the mountains. However, Ilpio sustains serious injuries in the process. Han uses his Chariok, which has healing properties, to tend to Ilpio's injured friends. In that moment, Seung-jin explains to Mori why Ilpio was helping him get stronger. Ilpio foresaw powerful threats looming over the entire city, and was trying to prepare Mori for these challenges. Just then, Ilpio regains consciousness, and Mori reveals the presence of the key to him. Although Ilpio doesn't know what the key is or why it was inside him, he earnestly begs Mori to keep it safe and not surrender it to anyone. Jagal reappears on the scene and asks Yu and Han where the key is. However, they steadfastly refuse to tell him anything, prompting Jagal to launch an attack against them. In a subsequent scene, Jin Mori goes searching for his friends and finds them severely injured. Han advises him to run because of Jagal's overwhelming strength. Jagal boldly declares himself the victor and proclaims his intent to claim everything, including the key, as his own. After that, the god continued to break the shield, and at that moment, all the people in the city just vanished. The old man, John Jae-san, had teleported everyone outside the city to protect them. He only sought revenge against those who had harmed his grandson. Following this, Jae-san pierced the nuclear missiles and used his legendary power as one of the 6 to destroy the god's shield. The flying monsters died in the explosion. During the fight between Mori and Jagal, they both felt a powerful explosion and were returned to Seoul. Jae-san fell to the ground while Sang remained unharmed. Upon seeing Mori, Sang asked about the key. However, Jagal summoned monsters that surrounded Mori's friends. Using a tentacle that emerged from his back, Jagal bound Jin Mori and took the hidden key from him. With the key in his possession, Jagal stated that he could finally surpass the gods. He devoured the key and transformed into a baby, rapidly growing and sprouting wings like an angel. Afterward, he reached his final form, which looked completely different. Jagal declared it was his destiny to absorb everything and return it to nothing, and he announced his intent to destroy all the weaklings. Park and the other organizers saw that the gods seemed to have been defeated, but John died after causing the explosion, and they had no idea where Sang was. Meanwhile, Jin Mori, Yu, and Han were thinking about getting out of there, when suddenly, Jagal appeared in his new form and started attacking them. His strength was on a whole other level, and even Jin Mori was getting hurt by his blows. He got furious with Jagal for harming his friends and used that acupuncture technique the old man taught him. This technique involved touching various parts of his body to break past his physical limits. With renewed strength, they started attacking Jagal together, but he retaliated with lightning. Then, giant monsters appeared, trying to crush them. Jagal wanted them to suffer before they went down and threw a spear-like power at them. However, Han stepped in and took the hit. Despite his injuries, Han told his friends to escape. In that moment, Jin Mori unleashed a new power, and a giant staff fell from the sky. Sang was shocked to see this and realized that Jin Mori was the guardian of the key, the Monkey King. Mori removed the headband from his forehead, which transformed into a crown. His eyes changed color, and the staff shrunk to his size. Jin Mori grabbed it and just started wailing on Jagal with it. Everyone watching was completely amazed as Mori unleashed his newfound power. Jagal summoned giant monsters, but Mori easily pierced through them with the staff. His anger was so clear as he demanded an apology from Jagal for hurting his friends. Mori began to name every single person Jagal had injured, taking revenge for their suffering. He hurled Jagal toward the ground at a ridiculous speed. Despite his injuries, Jagal got up and declared that he would never be a loser. In response, Jin Mori gathered clouds in the sky and repeatedly struck Jagal with lightning. Park informed the organizers that Mori's power wasn't borrowed from a god. He had become a god in that moment. Jagal lost his transformation and fell defeated to the ground, while Sang and his followers just vanished. Yu and Han rushed to Mori with hugs, so relieved to see him back to his usual self, hungry and all. However, Mori struggled to remember what had just happened, and the crown on his head was causing him intense pain. Jagal managed to rise one more time, but his face began to age rapidly. Determined, he transformed into a grotesque, multi-handed monster. Mori tried to summon his powers again, but they failed him. Just then, Ilpio arrived and reminded him to trust his comrades. The 4 friends embraced, ready to face Jagal together. They were just reveling in the joy of fighting alongside each other, and Mori unleashed the power of the blue dragons, ultimately obliterating the monster. In his final moments, Jagal recalled a memory of his mother bidding him farewell. Despite Ilpio's attempt to reach out to him, Jagal pulled away, telling him to live a good life. He was then devoured by one of his own monsters, meeting his end. Ilpio managed to catch some fragments of the key from Jagal's vanishing body. Then, a woman emerged, declaring herself one of the 6 and the progenitor of the human race, claiming to be the strongest and most significant figure in the tournament. She informed them that, as the winners, they had the privilege to make any wish they desired. In a rush, Mori approached the woman, expressing his desire for help to save his grandfather. However, in that moment, he recognized the needs of his friends, some of whom were missing body parts from the battle's toll. Mori realized he couldn't be selfish and decided to put his own wishes aside. Instead, he made a selfless wish for all the injured participants to have their bodies restored to their original, uninjured state. The woman used her power, and miraculously, those who had lost limbs or suffered injuries were completely healed, returning to their condition before the battle. She also informed Mori that his grandfather was indeed alive, though his presence felt extremely weak. Mori shouted for joy upon hearing the news, and his crown disappeared, but he fell into a deep slumber from exhaustion. The scene shifts, and Mori awakens from a 3-month slumber. He heads to the kitchen, where he finds Yu and Han busy cooking. In a flashback, the wish-granting woman informs Ilpyo that the key fragments have been scattered across the world. She entrusts him as the guardian of the key, with the task of gathering them, as the key possesses the power to challenge and potentially defeat the gods. Mori learns that to regain his lost memories from the battle, he must visit the Monkey King's homeland. Determined to grow stronger, Mori, Yu, and Han decide to embark on a journey to a distant location. They share a heartfelt moment, hugging each other, and Mori expresses his belief that the three of them will become stronger together. He also vows to find his missing grandfather. In the final scene, Jin Taijin remains imprisoned in a dark dungeon, his arm missing. Despite his dire circumstances, he thinks about his grandson and firmly believes that his grandson is capable of defeating even gods and challenging destiny itself. Alright guys, that's a wrap for this one. Make sure to smash that like button and check out this next video. See you on the next one.